Hello and welcome to MC Creek Art. Alright, today's video is episode 3 or part 3 of our Basics of Paint Pouring. It's a beginner paint pour series I'm doing here on my channel. And so I'll link down below some of the other episodes, but we mixed the paint up in episode 2. The colors we're using today are out of this Craftsmart 24-piece set. We're going to use the purple, the navy, the bright blue, the island breeze, and the island blue, and the light yellow. And for this first one, we're going to do 3 in this video, 3 different paint pours. For the first one, we are not using silicones. We have a 5-ounce cup with a 10 by 10 inch canvas. And I've just laid my canvas here. I've got a cake pan and I've got a couple of yogurt cups upside down, and that's what I have my canvas sitting on. And so we're gonna go ahead and just layer these into the cup. We do not have silicone, they're just mixed like I did on the second video with just paint and Floetrol. And so we're just mixing them in this cup, and this is what we're gonna call the dirty cup. So it's called a dirty cup because they're just kind of mixed in there. They're not carefully layered. In a later episode, we'll do tree ring pours where we carefully layer the colors in. But this is called a dirty pour because we're just letting them kind of mix throughout. Now this first video, this first pour we're doing, it does not have silicone, but when you use Floetrol as your pouring medium, you're going to get a few cells without using silicone. But on the second and third pour on this video, you're going to see where I'm going to get actual cells because I add silicone. But you are going to get some cell-like action just because Floetrol tends to do that. And so here I'm just layering them in the cup, and that's a dirty cup. And then once we get the cup full, we're going to do a dirty pour. So you can do it just back and forth across, like back and forth like this. You can do it more at a diagonal. Or you can do it just kind of how I'm going to do it here, just throwing it down at random. I like kind of the organic look you get with just kind of throwing it down at random. But if you're wondering what is all this talk about cells, what are those? Well, in paint pouring, a lot of people will use silicone, and so silicone will create these round little things that they kind of look like almost bubbles, or the colors kind of have these round little effects in them. Well, that is what we are calling cells in paint pouring. So you can see in the bottom left, I do kind of have some cells, but that's not exactly cells. So I put my hand here at an L kinda, and that just kind of helps. I create kind of a stoppage for the paint to just get to the edge, get to the corner. I pull it down the edge a little bit with my finger. So I go to each corner, then back to the center a little bit, then to the next corner, then back to the center a little bit, not completely to the center, but back to the center a bit, and then to the next corner. Then back to the center a little bit, and then to the next corner. And that's how I tilt it to get a dirty pour. So you can kind of see some of those round, kind of cell-esque, like, but not really creating cells. Now in the next you'll see where we will create actual cells. But this is a dirty pour using the cheap Craftsmart paints and Floetrol and no silicone. But in the next, we're on this video, we have 3 paint pours, and so the next 2 we are going to use some silicone. And here's just a close-up shot of that first paint pour. Little pops of yellow with some purple, really kind of Monet's garden-esque kind of feel to it. So, all right, now this next one we are going to use those same colors, but we're going to add a little bit of treadmill oil. I use this Spot On treadmill oil, and so I put 2 drops, and a little bit of silicone goes a long way. So I'm using 6 colors today, and 3 of the 6 colors I'm going to put 2 drops of silicone. That's it. A little bit goes a long way, and I don't put them in all of my colors. And I tend to just stir it a little bit. Now, some people say don't stir at all. Some people still say stir barely. But I give it a good stir, but I don't stir it super well in. You can kind of see each one how I stir it in. So now we're ready to pour. Same 5-ounce cup for a 10 by 10 inch canvas. Now this one, I'm going to go ahead and just layer the colors the same way I layered those last colors in. And I'm not really going to pay attention so much of what colors are next to each other. I'm just grabbing the colors at random, putting them in each, a little bit of each color. Going to go through each of the colors probably about twice to fill the cup. And then we'll do the same technique, a dirty pour. So this is episode 3 of this series, and so the next few episodes will be different techniques, and each episode will be full of random little tips and tricks and explaining some of the beginner lingo and the ins and outs of paint pouring, kind of just the basics of paint pouring. And so I'm just layering it up in this cup, not really paying too much attention in the order or any of that. And that's because the next paint pour, the 3rd one on this video, we're going to more pay attention to how we're layering it in there and what colors are next to each other and such. And I'm going to show you the difference. So we're just going to go ahead and pour this out just like we did the last one, so we can kind of compare with silicone, without. Just randomly pouring it out. So all right, those little round things popping up, you can see there is cell action already in this one. So I'm just getting out as much as I can, the excess out here on the corner, as much as I can get to kind of pop out. So you can kind of see where I had put purple and yellow right next to each other in the cup at the same time. And we got a little bit of kind of what they call muddying, where those colors have kind of mixed together and they didn't play well together. And so it looks okay in this paint pour though. But the next one I'm going to show you how to create kind of the same look, but try not to muddy it up too much with like yellows and purple, very contrasting colors. So I'm just doing the same thing, kind of pulling it to each corner, then back to the center a bit, then to each corner, back to the center a bit. So by using just a little bit of silicone, not putting it in every color, not putting a ton in every color, you can see where I got cells, but I didn't get too many. I didn't get an absolute ton of cells. And that's kind of what I was looking for in this technique. Sometimes I want it to go just cell crazy, but in this one I didn't. So by putting it in just a couple of the colors, or 3 of the colors, I got some kind of big, huge cells and some varying sizes of cells, which is kind of nice. So all right, we've got it to each of the corners. We're kind of just checking the edges, making sure. It's much easier when it's nice and wet to get all those edges. So here we have our torch. Now the torch does help break the tension on the surface to pull the cells, the silicone, up through the colors and create those cells. I am actually not torching the whole thing. I'm wanting a little bit more of that green to pop up through. So I'm actually running 2 lines of the torch just through to try to get it target just that green to kind of pop up through. Now when we say torch it, we are not touching the torch to the canvas. The flame does not touch the canvas. You're like 4 or 5, inches up above your actual torches. Your flame is probably 2-3 inches above the canvas. You're not actually touching flame to canvas. You're gonna cook your paint and create horrible fumes if you do that. All you're doing is breaking any air bubbles and kind of warming the paint enough to create the silicone to pull up through the different layers of paint. So here's a close-up of that painting, and you can kind of see the different sizes of cells. A nice varying, not a ton of little tiny ones, not a ton of really big ones, kind of varying sizes of cells. And I really like that, and that's by just putting very little silicone in just a few colors. And so, all right, some still shots of this one, and then the next one we're going to do the same technique, a dirty pour, using the same colors, but we're going to layer them in the cup just a little bit differently. So the contrasting colors in this one is purple and yellow. So we don't want to have that purple and yellow right next to each other. So we're just going to isolate those purple and yellow out by putting a little bit of blue in between each of the purple and yellow. So we're just pouring the same colors. So here we have a little bit of that yellow. And I'm going to put a little bit of navy to kind of cover up that yellow, and then put in the purple. Just kind of isolating those colors, putting something in between them. And you're going to see how just that little variation of this technique is going to make quite the difference, actually. Just pick out the contrasting colors and isolate them out. Blue is a great way to kind of isolate them out. White, black, any of that goes with many colors, and so you can put those in between. So a little bit of purple. Then a little bit of that navy kind of in between the purple, so the purple and yellow are not right together. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just pour this same way we've done all three of them. Just at random, pouring it out, ribbons of color. So you're already seeing quite a bit of cell action popping up. Just pouring it out, and you could go just back and forth. You could go at a diagonal if you don't like this kind of more chaotic look to it. And you can also do a dirty pour with negative space, where you've got a little bit of just plain white background, black background with some dirty poured through the middle or something like that, and that would be negative space. But an episode here coming up, we'll talk more about negative space. So all right, now the other thing I'm going to do on this one that's going to be a little bit different than the last one I just did, I am going to very gently tilt the canvas. That second paint pour, well, the first and the second one, I tilted the canvas quite aggressively, like quite quickly. Now I'm going to show just the subtle difference of isolating the contrasting colors and then also very gently tilting the canvas. I'm going to go, so if you're going like, I'm kind of going clockwise around the canvas, I'm going to go around the clock kind of twice, round each corner twice. Instead of those first and second paint pours, I only went around and did each corner like once, just aggressively pulled it to the corners. I'm tilting it much more gently to really keep those cells. I'm really stretching out those cells and gently tilting it to each of the corners. Even if this takes a little bit longer, be patient with it, because just the subtle difference of being careful of how you layer your colors in there, in your cup, and just subtly, just very slowly tilting the canvas, you're going to create a total different look. So this was my favorite out of the three pours we did. But which was your favorite? The first one, the second one, or the third one? Let me know down below. But I will link in my description the other episodes to this series. And then the next technique we're going to do is a super, super easy technique for beginners, but we're going to do puddle pours. I'm going to show you a few varying different variations of a puddle pour and a marble pour. Because a marble pour, a lot of times, is just a puddle pour with a marble wrecked through it. So the next one, episode 4, will be the puddle pour, how to do a puddle pour. And then we'll go on to other techniques after that. So each episode will be a different technique with a whole bunch of tips and tricks kind of scattered in between. So all right, look at how we still have quite a definition between no muddying, definition between the yellow and the purple. We didn't lose a lot of our cells. We kept really the definition of the cells as well. Just slowing down and patiently tilting the canvas can really make a difference as well. So please let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you've checked out episode 1 and 2, and I hope you're enjoying this series. And we have a lot of episodes coming up with a whole bunch of techniques, with a whole bunch of tips and tricks and kind of explanations of all kinds of lingo and all kinds of stuff mixed in with each episode. So here is a close-up of that one. The third one was my favorite from this episode. Please let me know, was the first one, second one, or third one your favorite? All right, so I hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching.